Hey everyone, welcome to today's WordStream webinar, 11 amazing ways to save in PPC. We are very excited that you were able to join us today and really look forward to getting started. Before we're able to do that, I want to get some of the logistics out of the way so we can get straight to the fun with Erin. Following our presentation, you'll receive an email from the lovely Erin Sagin, our speaker today, with today's recording and slides. We'll also have dedicated time for Q&A following the presentation, so definitely be sure to submit your questions throughout the webinar and we'll get to as many as possible. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with WordStream, we are a search marketing software provider with free and paid tools to help you easily grow your AdWords, Bing, and Facebook campaigns. So if you're looking to master paid search or paid social, definitely check out our PPC University at wordstream.com/learn. You can also check out our blog along with PPCU. They're both great one-stop shops for all things related to paid search and really will provide you with any information you need to stay on top of everything going on within kind of the digital marketing industry as a whole. Now, we encourage you to be social throughout the presentation today and join in on the conversation. You can find us at WordStream and follow us with the hashtag Ways to Save in PPC, and also follow our speaker, Erin Sagin. Now, it is my great pleasure to introduce our presenter today, Erin Sagin. She's our PPC evangelist at WordStream. She's been at WordStream for quite some time now, almost since the beginning. She has over 5 years of paid search experience. Recently, as of this week, she was named the 4th most influential PPC expert of 2016 by PPC Hero. This is a tremendous honor, and we are all very proud and excited for her. She is a Twitter addict. I sit right behind her. She will answer your tweets, so be sure to check her out there. She's very entertaining as well. And as you'll see today, she's a committed couponer, whether it be shopping for a new handbag or ice cream or in PPC. So she can definitely help you figure out ways to save. So without any more of me talking, here you go.
Thank you, Callie. And thank you guys for coming today. So to kick things off, I wanted to introduce you to my mom. She is the nicest, sweetest lady. And like most moms, or so it seems, she is like hyper about couponing. I remember as a kid, when we were in trouble, she would sit us down with like a big stack of magazines, and our job was to cut coupons. And as a kid, I hated coupons. I thought they were so embarrassing. You know, my mom would kind of walk through the supermarket with an enormous bag like this, full of organized coupons, and we would go aisle by aisle and resembled something like this mortifying cart. Because you know with coupons, it's like you don't just get one of everything. You have to get like 18 bottles of apple juice or, you know, a million diapers, as you can see here. So I hated coupons. I was totally mortified by her couponing tactics, and now I'm an adult. And while I avoided coupons in my early adulthood, I quickly learned that on my meager intern salary upon graduating college, that my mom actually had something right. And I probably should have been couponing the last few years away. So as I've made this foray into adulthood and determined that I actually have to be a little bit more careful with my money, I've started taking on the same traits as my mom, no longer having an empty piggy bank because I am now an avid couponer. And many of you have probably experienced the same. You know, when you walk through CVS and you put in your card and you get like $5 extra bucks, and it just feels so good because all of your like diligent couponing has come to a $5 reward. So I guess it's little things in life now that I'm an adult. But what I will say is, in my personal life, I'm constantly looking for more ways to save and be smarter about my budget. And I think the same goes very much for PPC. You know, when I started working in paid search, a lot of my clients were really small businesses who were looking to protect their budget and really ensure they were getting the best bang for their buck. And I can't tell you how many people said, like, can you just find me a coupon? Like, isn't there, like, some sort of rewards club for AdWords? And unfortunately, when it comes to AdWords, saving money isn't as easy as being on top of your couponing game and clipping out coupons from, you know, the grocery store pamphlets. But I will assure you, and I'm happy to announce, it's actually not that hard, because with a little bit of elbow grease and a lot of smart tactical planning, you actually can dramatically cut down the amount that you're spending on paid search while still yielding the same results. So that's what we're going to talk about today, how you can get the best bang for your buck, how you can eliminate a lot of that wasted spend and ensure that for your budget, you're really making the most of it. Unfortunately, no coupons provided. So we have a lot to get through today. I was talking about this a few minutes ago. I think I may have overshot with the 11 tactics, because that's a lot of tactics to make it through. So I'm going to be really conscious of time, hopefully leaving a little time for questions at the end. So if you guys have other tactics you want to share or questions, we'll try and hit those. So let's get right to it. All right, tactic number 1. This is a big one, and this, honest to God, applies to everyone, and that's adding negative keywords. So the biggest risk with paid search is to show for queries from unqualified searchers. This is really, really dangerous. And I apologize for the blurry picture, but this is one of those classic old examples that's just mortifying to look at. But eBay shows its ads for baby. Somebody does a search looking for a baby, and eBay is saying, hey baby, buy it cheap on eBay. Low prices, new and used. A lot of questions there. It's a pretty strange, used baby, not so enticing. But, it's very clear that while they're bidding on the term baby, maybe with regards to baby dolls or something like that, they certainly don't want to be showing up in this capacity. So it is really dangerous to show up for queries from unqualified searchers. And a lot of us think, well, what's the harm in just showing up? Because nobody's going to click. If it's not a good fit, if you are indeed looking to buy a baby on eBay, what's the harm in them showing their ad? Because the reality is nobody's going to click on that. Everyone's going to be like, oh, well, eBay doesn't have the baby that I want. Well, you can't have this attitude of no click, no problem. The reality is when you have these 0 clicks on these ridiculous ads that you may be showing for, you're going to have low click-through rates. Low click-through rates equal low quality scores. Click-through rates is one of the biggest determining factors in quality score. So low click-through rates equal low quality score, and low quality score means you're going to have a much higher CPC. You're essentially getting this tax for doing a job. Google's like penalizing you. So avoid this mentality of no click, no problem. Really focus on ensuring that you are showing your ads to the right searchers, people who are actually looking for what you offer. You'll yield high quality scores. So the best way to get rid of those unqualified searchers is, and again, you don't want to pay for the click. So the best way to get rid of those unqualified searchers is by bidding on the right keywords and showing people the right ads. So here we see I did a search for next day delivery bathing suit. Now, one would only do a search like this if they desperately need a bathing suit the next day. I've been in this situation more than once where I realize I am a different size bathing suit than I used to be, and I need to find one stat because I'm going to the beach the next day. So I look for next day delivery, and when I type in next day delivery, it better be next day delivery because I clearly do not have time to wait. And the most frustrating thing is to find a bathing suit that you love, go to purchase it, and then realize that indeed it isn't a next day delivery. It actually won't show for several days. This is really dangerous, and that's going to result in 0 conversions. So you need to be really careful that you're only showing for the right people and that you're using negative keywords as this protective mechanism. And this is going to serve as protection to you to ensure that if somebody does a search for any of these terms, it will prevent your ads from showing. So import a really, really hefty negative keyword list that's going to help you to ensure that you are funneling only good traffic through to see your ads. Tip number 2, pause poorly performing keywords. So many of you guys out there are probably business owners or bosses, and the worst thing in the world is like a useless employee, somebody who just doesn't pull their weight. You're paying them all this money and they're really not doing their job. They're not bringing you much. And what's even worse than these shoddy employees are shoddy employees who steal your stuff, who steal your money. As you can see here, this girl stole all of the office supplies in the office. Now, would you continue to employ this lazy, stealing employee? I certainly wouldn't. I think I would cut ties pretty quickly. And you should have the same attitude towards your keywords. So if you have keywords that aren't bringing value to you and you're paying for them, you want to start to get rid of them. So this is a screenshot from a tool or a tool within our software, but you can do the same type of activity in AdWords, really looking for keywords with sky-high CPAs that just don't make sense for your business, or keywords that you're paying through the nose for, but you're not yielding any conversions from. And you have two scenarios you can play out here. You can identify these keywords, give them one last shot, and try and make them work, or you can call a spade, pause them, and kind of stop the bleed right then and there, right? Fire that crappy employee, get rid of that crappy keyword. So absolutely go through, identify the keywords that aren't delivering enough value and nix them while you can. Another thing that you want to start to get rid of as you're going through and eliminating poorly performing keywords is looking out for keywords with super low to the point of no search volume. I see this all the time. People add all these amazing keywords to their account, hoping that they're going to get traffic. And the reality is, when we look at most accounts, the vast majority of keywords are not getting traffic, and a very small subset of keywords are getting impressions, clicks, conversions. So if you're one of those people who has been dutifully filling your account with keywords, which is a great activity, you should also take the time to purge those keywords every so often. So the general rule of thumb, I like to let them run for about, it depends on the volume in your account, but I would say kind of 2 months. Let them run. If you're not seeing a return, if you're not seeing traffic for them, you want to make a decision and delete the clutter in your account. All right, that brings me to money-saving tactic number 3, which is stop overbidding. This is a huge one. People are so obsessed with being number 1. And I don't know if you guys have ever seen this clip, but there was a beauty pageant in Brazil. The girl who got second place just went ballistic on the girl who won, and she was so obsessed with getting number 1 that she ripped the crown and the wig off of the girl's head. And I think advertisers oftentimes are almost as aggressive as this about wanting that first position. But the reality is the first position doesn't always bring you what you need. It's not always worth it, because with that top position, you're going to be paying a ton of money. It's expensive. It's expensive to compete and make it to the top. And not only is it expensive, it's harder to get good quality scores when you're showing at the top of the page. And for one very simple reason. Google expects high click-through rates for top positions, as they should, right? We know that just innately, searchers are apt to click one of those top ads because it's the first thing that they see. And of course, they're more likely to click somebody at the top of the page than the bottom of the page. So Google says, all right, we have higher expectations for you if you're showing up in that top position. So what that means is they look at your click-through rate relative to your position to determine your quality score. So as you can see here, for first position, they're expecting quite a bit, and most people are falling short of it. And that's really, really unfortunate for a lot of advertisers, because it means negatively impacting their quality scores, making first position even more expensive than it is in the first place. So you really have to do some sort of a cost-benefit analysis, go back to that scale and say, is it actually worth it? You know, is the amount that I'm paying really worth the number of impressions and clicks that I'm getting in this top position? And you may have to make some decisions. You might say, okay, for my branded keywords, it is critical for me to be at the top of the page because I want to rank first for my brand. I don't want a competitor beating me out there. But maybe for some more generic, broad terms where you're just not getting amazing performance to begin with, why up the ante? Why pay so much for those terms if they're not bringing you great yield in return? Another thing to think about, the SERP has changed pretty dramatically over the last couple months. And in the past, we only had 3 ads at the top of the page, and then they shoved like ads 4 through 6 to the right-hand side, which traditionally got poor performance. Now they've shifted things, so you have 4 ads at the top of the page above the organic listings. So you have a little bit more space to still make that top of the page position. These are the 4 ads that tend to get the most clicks, the most visibility, the most traction. But what's to say that you really need to be a number 1? Like in this particular example, my eyes are drawn to number 2 because it has more extensions, it shares more information, and it's more compelling content. And in some situations, my eyes are drawn to ad number 4 because maybe the top 3 have no extensions and number 4 is all tricked out with a gazillion extensions. So the reality is the quality of your ads, the number of extensions that you have attached to that ad, all of these other moving pieces, how compelling the ad is from a relevance perspective. Is it honestly a good fit for what somebody searched? As long as you are doing your job and you have these super specific, really, really well-written, tricked out with extensions ads, number 4 and number 3 can serve you just as well as number 1 at a significantly reduced cost. So shame on you if you're obsessing over number 1. You're greedy just like that girl in the beauty pageant. Give these other positions a shot. I would definitely avoid, there's some bid strategies where you can literally set it to beat the competition to position number 1, and you should really only be using that on your branded campaigns and never else. All right, number 4, change keyword match types. This is a pretty big one. And this goes really hand in hand with that concept of negatives, right? We always want to ensure that you're only showing ads to people who are genuinely good fits for your account. So it's like getting a dagger shoved into my side every time I look at an account and see that every keyword is set to broad. And I've highlighted this changes column because so often I see my clients go in and they've done all this great work. They've added all these new perfect keywords that are a great fit for their account, but they add them all on broad match. And it's like, oh, God, I'm so grateful for these changes, but they're not going to serve you well because of your match type settings. This literally drives me to the bar like every night when I see this. It's just so painful. And the reason this is painful is because if I go back to that example, my client had the best of intentions. She knew she wanted to create an ad group specifically for chocolate cakes. And she nailed it, right? Every single one of these keywords is very specific to what she wants to show for. Every single keyword contains both the word chocolate and cake. It seems like a slam dunk. But by nature of broad match, because with a broad match type, you are eligible to show for matches to any term within the keyword term, she is effectively screwing herself over. So as you can see, by bidding on a term like chocolate wedding cakes, she could actually show up for somebody searching for wedding gown. That has nothing to do with what she's offering. She certainly doesn't want to show for that. But because it's on broad match, she is eligible to show for wedding gown. Bidding on German chocolate cakes. Oh, sorry, I'm ahead of myself. She bid on dark chocolate cakes. By including that word dark, she could show up for anything, any term that includes the word dark, be it like dark night sky or extra dark candy bar. Dangerous, right? These are all irrelevant searches. These are going to hurt her quality scores. She could potentially earn really shady, not good clicks. German chocolate cakes. that opens her up to terms like German Oktoberfest. And perhaps the saddest one of all of these, and this is really just because she's not using negatives, she could shop for crab cakes. And when I look, way back when she first set these up and I see all these great keywords, I'm excited. But then as these possibilities open, it's like all of her hard work is for naught, because she has such broad settings that she has really opened the door for everything under the kitchen sink. So my recommendation to you, take the time to explore more restrictive match types. I am absolutely not advocating that you flip everything over to exact match or phrase match. That is absolutely going to limit your reach, but you're going to bring in some great people. What I'm advocating is that you explore other match types. Run multiple match type strategies within one campaign or one ad group. Take the time to use stack bidding and try out different match types. Take the time to explore Modify Broad. This is like a secret gem that far too few people are using. But with Modify Broad, essentially, all you have to do is add a little teeny tiny plus sign in front of every keyword or every term within your keyword. And what this effectively does is it says to Google, I'm fine showing for any search query that includes every single one of these terms. They can be in any order. There can be any other words within that query. But my stipulation to Google is everything with a plus sign in front of it absolutely has to be within the query. So take the time to explore these more restrictive match types. These are going to help you avoid all of this unqualified traffic, which can dramatically, again, hurt your quality scores, again, hurting your costs, or just cause clicks from, poorly irrelevant searchers, poorly qualified searchers. All right, moving forward to number 5. We're almost halfway through here, guys. Number 5 is adding long tail keywords. So what is a long tail keyword? I found this picture. I thought it was so cute and such a good way to explain what these people are. So these are super long keywords. And the cool thing about long tail keywords is they are so specific that people who are typing them in know what they want, they're super qualified, and ready to connect with you. The downside where this dinosaur comes into play is the volume is super low. You're not going to have a ton of people searching for these keywords. But by darn, the ones that do search for these keywords, because they're usually using such specific terms, are really likely to click through and ultimately, hopefully, convert. So here's an example I wanted to show you guys, not just about the volume, but also what bids look like for these. So bikini is a head term, right? Bikini is a singular term. There's a ton of traffic out there. And it's super competitive and by and large expensive, right? It's way expensive because so many people are bidding on terms like bikini. But if you go for that longer tail version, something like yellow polka dot bikini or yellow string bikini, these are people who have given a little bit more thought. They know exactly what they want. They have a super specific long tail term that they're searching for. There are going to be fewer searches. Competition for these particular terms are still high, but they are nothing like the competition for a head term like bikini. And as a result, they are coming in at like half the price. So you can see these longer tail terms are really useful. One thing I do want to caution you to is you definitely don't want to go down the line of having super long tail terms. So I definitely draw the line at like 5 words. The reality is not that many people are searching these super long tail terms, but you want to stick with the 3 or 4 word terms that are really specific. And what we're seeing also with the increase in voice searches, we'll probably see more and more of these longer tail searches. So be prepared for these. Take advantage of these. They're cheaper and they yield good traffic. And I just wanted to give you a quick tip. The best place to find these is to go to your search query data. So this screenshot is from our tool, from a tool that we have called the Query Stream. You can see some similar information provided to you in the See Search Terms report in Adwords. But essentially what this does is it shows you for every single time your ad has been triggered to show exactly what the person typed in to trigger that impression. So it's not necessarily your keywords, it's the search queries that are connecting to your keywords, enabling your ads to show. Take the time and look through here, because this is going to help you identify long-tail terms that actual humans are searching. And more importantly, you can identify whether there is volume for them, right? So you don't want to add a long-tail term that only one person has searched. But if a lot of people have searched it and it has, maybe good click-through rates, good conversion rates, you absolutely should add that long-tail term. So take the time and see what actual human beings who are connecting with you and are performing in your account are searching, and try adding those terms. All right, number 6. So now we're looking more not to building the account, but actually honing the account. So let's talk about splitting up your ad group. I see this all the time, and I like to think of it as like a big ad group is a big problem. This client's account is devastating. This particular term, or this particular ad group, Provincetown, it holds almost 1,000 keywords. For all 1,000 of these keywords, the same ads are eligible to show. And you can see the variation here is really stark. Like, look at, they're talking about hotels, guest houses, buses, relish. Like, what does that even mean? Fine arts. The only commonality that these things have is Provincetown. And so what kind of ad is this client going to spit out? Right? It's going to have to be super, super generic. Or if it's not generic, it's not going to make sense to most of these searchers who are connecting with the keyword. If you have ad groups that are 20+ keywords, it is absolutely time for you to think of doing an account makeover. That is an unacceptable quantity of keywords. The reason is 20+ keywords is a clear indication that it's almost impossible to have a relevant ad. So I kind of think of it as a grocery store. It's like, grocery stores are great because when you need something, you know exactly which aisle to go to, and you hightail it to that aisle, and you can rest assured that whatever you want is going to be in that aisle. I don't know what it is about grocery stores, but those people have it down pat. You want the same thing to be for your account. You want to ensure if somebody is searching for something that falls under a specific category, they're finding the perfect ad for you. So your level of organization should be akin to that of a grocery store. Take the time to really dive in and structure your account in accordance with keyword themes. You want small, tightly knit, granular ad groups with specific ad copy that drive people to specific landing pages. And I swear to God, this is the key to success when it comes to paid search. If there is one thing that Google wants to see you doing, it's creating these small, tightly knit ad groups with super specific ads and landing pages. That is the key to getting a good quality score. And that's really the secret to all of this. So take the time, good for you if you've been constantly adding new keywords to your account, but when you add them, make sure you're adding them to either the right ad group or you're building a new ad group if you're talking about a new theme. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself in a total disaster mode. That brings me to tactic number 7, which is declare your split test winners. Running A/B tests is a wonderful thing. Every single person who does paid search should be running A/B tests. There is never a one-size-fits-all strategy in this industry. It is impossible to know if you are putting your best foot forward unless you truly run a test to identify whether it's the best ad for you, the best landing page for you. But the sky is really the limit. You should always be running A/B tests. What you shouldn't be doing, and kind of the sign of an account manager who's really in peril and needs help, is this: not declaring a winner. If you're setting up all these A/B tests but never going in and figuring out who did it best, who is truly the winner of said test, then your test is more harmful than it is good. Because the reality is you have 2 ads or 2 landing pages running, and only one is the best. And if you don't get in and identify who the best one is, then you're letting your crappy one get potentially just as much traffic, and you're really sending yourself into a dangerous place. So I definitely recommend, if you're running A/B tests, take the time to declare a winner. I know that that can be hard to do, right? I think a lot of us are like, I get that I need to end these A/B tests, but honestly, how do I know when to make the call? When can I truly deem one ad better than the other? And it is tricky. So what I recommend doing is diving in and determining if your results are statistically significant. I'm like math impaired. I can barely do basic addition. So I'm recommending this amazing tool to you, courtesy of Cardinal Path. They're an awesome resource for PPC tools and educational resources. But they have this cool little ad testing tool, and it's stupid simple. Like, it's just as easy as plugging something into a calculator, which is precisely the type of math that I prefer to do. So all you have to do is pull up your ads, plug in the clicks, impressions, and conversion rate that you're seeing for these ads. Tell Cardinal Path how much you care about being confident with this statistically significant information, and then run the test. And it will help you make that decision to determine truly which ad you should stick with and which one you should be confident with. And if your boss ever sits you down and said, why did you pick this stupid ad? Like, the other one was so much better. You can look really freaking brilliant when you say, oh, it was statistically significant, so this is why I picked that one. So I definitely, as you start to make decisions in your account, use tools like this to really make smart decisions. And I should point out, WordStream will also help you with this. In our software, we have a tool that's constantly analyzing your ads and letting you know which ones aren't being tested and which tests you need to end, kind of call a spade, and maybe set up a new test. Because again, you should always be testing, but always be testing new stuff, not just letting your old crappy stuff run. All right, plugging right along. Tactic number 8, clean up your landing pages. All right, this is a big one. So I have this really, really bad habit that I get into every couple of months where I start working out, and I work out hard. I'll get up early in the morning, or I'll go on these like ridiculously long walks, and I feel so good about myself. I'm like, I put in so much effort, and I will probably be like 100 pounds by the end of this workout and fully ripped. And I do my workout in the morning, and then I come to work and I get like an enormous breakfast sandwich, and then I have a burger, and I follow it up with like 16 beers. Or I work out really hard at night and directly head to a bar. And that's a really dangerous thing, right? Because I worked really, really hard for this. I exercised really hard, but I'm letting it all backfire on myself by not following through and eating the right way. Yeah. Same thing, if you work really, really hard to set up the perfect paid search account structure, and really hard to, and frankly spend money to get people to see your ads and click on your ads, if you're sending them to a crappy landing page, or you're not sending them to the right landing page. So here's an example. You can see here I said, I'd like to order a red velvet cake online. That's very clear. It's very clear that I know the type of cake I want, and I know that I want to order it online. I don't want to walk to a bakery. I need it sent to me. Now, this particular site could send me one of two pages. They could just send me to a happy birthday cake page where it doesn't make it clear that I can order a cake, and it certainly doesn't make it clear that they even had red velvet cake. Or they can send me directly to the product page for a red velvet cake where I can put in my order and move forward. So it's about sending people to the right page, sending people to the page that is most relevant to what they're looking for. Otherwise, you're spending a ton of money and effort bringing people to your site, and they're going to hightail it out of there the second they can't find what it is that they want. So really take the time to tune in your site, build out the right landing pages, and get people to the right place. If you think about it, if you don't send somebody to the right place, even if they don't leave immediately, they're going to have to do some searching on your site. And the more they screw around on your site, desperately looking for whatever it is that they want, every step, every barrier in the way, you're going to lose one or two more people. So give them a direct path to conversion. And don't put all these silly roadblocks in the way. Like when I look at these two sites, obviously they're incredibly different, but this one is pretty painful. I can barely figure out where I can convert or where to even begin, which form to fill out, if I should call them. Like it's just a nightmare. And again, I'm overwhelmed and I'm probably going to abandon it. Whereas this site has such a nice streamlined approach. It doesn't matter if this site comes up number 1, I'm not spending time on it. This site could be ad number 4, but when I get there, it's streamlined, easy, and I'm actually going to follow through with it. So really, don't shoot yourself in the foot by not taking the time to make your site beautiful. And along with that, focus on your mobile site. See far too many people with just nightmares of a mobile site. Mobile searches are dramatically on the increase, and if you want to make sure that you're doing well in the mobile space, and you're bidding for mobile traffic and you are getting all of these eyeballs on your mobile ads and they're clicking through, give them a good site. Give them a site that they can convert on. All right, moving on to tactic number 9. It looks like we're good on time. Utilize bid modifiers. So your searcher's behavior changes pretty drastically based on the user's context, right? So what I mean by this is if I'm shopping, let's say, during the day at work, I probably don't have a super cohesive shopping experience because every time my boss walks by, I'm like minimizing the page in a panic. I don't want to pull my credit card out on my desk. My CEO sits right behind me, and I don't think he'd be too impressed to see me just like, wasting all of my money on clothes all day. But when I'm at home at night, I'm much more likely to follow through with the purchase that I was considering while I was at work. Or maybe I'm less likely to make a purchase while on my phone, but I do all my research on my phone, on the bus, and then I convert when I get home, right? Your searcher's behavior changes based on their context, be it location, time of day, or device. And it's up to you to figure out what that traffic looks like. Because depending on whether you're B2B, depending on what you're selling, to whom you're selling, be it, minivan moms versus single white man, whatever this may be, right? Their behavior is different. So take the time to segment your own data, figure out what this traffic looks like, and then find your unicorns, right? Identify what's working. Are you seeing tons of conversions happening at night? Well, then go back to that time of day, bid modifier, and set it so you're bidding more at night so you can get more traction at night. Better positions, more ad visibility. You really up the ante for those nighttime terms. So in the words of Larry Kim, as cheesy as this may be, identify and promote your unicorns. You can also downgrade your donkeys. If a particular location just isn't yielding good results, but you or maybe your boss isn't comfortable eliminating it altogether, don't be scared to dip down that bid. Lower the priority of that particular area. All right, number 10, create a remarketing campaign. This is also an important one. It really, really stinks to pay for clicks that don't convert. Essentially, in the wise words of the Backstreet Boys, it's like you want to kind of say to these people, like, quit playing games with my heart. I'm working so hard to get you to see my ads, and you're clicking, and then like you're paying, and these people aren't converting. They're not actually following through, and that sucks. But the reality is, most of us are guilty of this. So for example, if you've ever been on my webinar before, ice cream seasons to make it into all of them. I went to school in Ohio, and if any of you guys out there are from Ohio, you're probably more than well aware of Jenny's Splendid ice cream. And this is like probably the best ice cream in the whole entire world. It's the most unique flavors and all these like really fresh ingredients. I mean, they'll literally like mush pies into pints of their ice cream for pie ice cream. But before I get derailed on the ice cream train, I spend a lot of time on Jenny's website, and I spend a lot of time looking at the different flavors. And I'm clicking through ads to get there, so I indeed am playing with their advertisers' hearts, but I don't follow through. And the reason I very rarely follow through with my Jenny's purchases is because they cost a lot. You know, you're definitely paying for that amazing ice cream. So these pints are about 4 times what I would pay for Ben & Jerry's. They are $12 a pint, and I have to pay for shipping because God knows there are very few places here where I can get my Jenny's ice cream. Now, I told you earlier I'm desperately trying to be a good adult who doesn't spend too much money, so I really, really try and restrict myself, not follow through, not buy this incredible ice cream. But what Jenny's has done is they have started remarketing towards me. So they identify that I'm putting crap in my cart. I'm interested in all of these different amazing ice creams. Like, do you see the titles of these ice creams? They're incredible. I'm putting them in my cart, and I'm not following through. And in fact, about 81% of people are guilty of this, abandoning their shopping carts before actually following through with a purchase. So what Jenny's does is they don't give up on me. They know that I am going to fall eventually to this amazing ice cream. And so what they do is they cookie me and they start showing me remarketing ads. And they're showing them in the Google Display Network. They're showing them all over the web. Here's an example of one that they showed me on Facebook. And the more I see these ads and the more ice cream starts to infiltrate my mind, the more I break down and I start to give in. And all of a sudden I'm sitting at my desk with my credit card freaking buying Jenny's ice cream. But it takes me a little while. Like, I didn't make the decision right off the bat. They had to win me over. They had to show me multiple ads before I actually gave in and bought the ice cream. So if you particularly are working for an industry that has a longer decision-making cycle, definitely take the time to run remarketing campaigns and actually squeeze the juice out of that final user, right? They've done the search. They've been to your site before. Don't let them get away. Continue to show your ads to them to chase that conversion, and I guarantee you most of the time it'll be well worth it. All right, and that brings me to tactic number 11. We made it through. Create a branded campaign. So branded keywords, they are notoriously cheap. They are awesome. And far too many advertisers avoid using them because they're like, well, if somebody wants my brand, then they're just going to buy it anyway. They're going to click on my organic traffic. I can poke holes in that argument all day. For time's sake, I'm not going to do it, but if you want to fight me on it, hit me up on Twitter and we'll talk about it. You absolutely should be bidding on your own branded terms as well as others' branded terms, but specifically your own, because as you can see here, branded terms are way cheaper than the regular old terms, and it's very easy to get an amazing quality score on a branded term. And the reason is because Google measures quality score based on exact matches to your particular keywords. And so with a branded term, for those exact matches, you're yielding these incredible results, right? People know who you are, they're looking for your stuff. Your ad is super reflective because you're pasting your brand all throughout your ad. Your website is just full of your branded terms. I mean, it is a total slam dunk. So they're cheap terms with amazing quality scores. Like, I don't think we can leave on a better note than this. Your branded terms are really those kind of golden nuggets in your account. They're cheap, they're effective, and by having a good quality score on these terms, it will help your future performance on other terms when you first add them to your account. So I will leave you with that tip. And one final kind of point, and that's just because there aren't these magic coupons and just because AdWords isn't as generous as CVS with their extra bucks, it doesn't mean that you can't run your paid search campaigns truly on a budget. And if you use these tactics, I guarantee you, you can save a little money. So we're going to move forward to a question and answer session. But first, I wanted to bring Kelly back on because we have an incredible offer for you guys today that she's going to walk you through.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Erin. That was great content, and I know I learned a ton of how to save some money. So first up, for special offers today, we have a free live demo of the WordStream Advisor, so you can connect with our team here at WordStream, and they can show you how our tool can help you not only save time with doing PPC in 20 minutes a week, but also save money and get a lot more from your investment. So definitely check that out. We also have a one-on-one AdWords assessment with a certified consultant. So we have a team here of all Google AdWords certified consultants. They'll, really dig into your account one-on-one with you, show you what you're doing really well, but also outline those areas that you're not doing so hot in. So, they'll give you tactics to use so that you can stop wasting money and really turn that more into revenue for your company. So definitely encourage you to take one of the 2 special offers today, as they are up on the screen.
Okay. I'm just reading through these questions. These are hilarious. I feel like I made so many people hungry.
No, you did, me included. So while we leave the special offers up on the screen, Erin, one person is wondering, does WordStream offer any coupons or discounts? And I know that's not something that's on the norm, but could you explain how the WordStream tool could help people in saving money and decreasing wasted spend?
Absolutely. So WordStream, to be perfectly honest, it was built for people who are trying to make the most of their money. When we kind of serve a really broad market now, but when we first started, we were all about these teeny tiny small businesses who were desperately trying to save money. So that's really where our tools started. And now in the software, one of the coolest things you can do is you can set a CPA goal. And so that kind of covers both sides of it. Setting a CPA goal is about understanding how much you're willing to spend to bring money or bring customers through the door to make sure you're doing it effectively, and then you can scale that up over time, right? Because if you're making money at the right, or if you're making conversions at the right cost, it's going to be worthwhile to you, and you can start to up your budget and scale. So we are super focused on the CPA. If you're not at a CPA that you're happy with, we're going to focus on cutting down your wasted spend to really start to save you guys some money and get you to a CPA that you're comfortable with. Once you hit that CPA that you're comfortable with, we're going to help you grow and scale that account. So WordStream is great in terms of saving money. And maybe my favorite part about it is we just have this really freaking fantastic team who works with accounts of all different verticals, and they are super focused on finding new money-saving techniques and doing data analysis across all of these different verticals. So if you do want to do consulting with any of them, that will really help you cut down on some of those costs.
Great. Next question. Should you set your competitors' actual business names as negative keywords? This person in particular, they get a high click-through rate on these ads, but I suspect that they're not good prospects.
So that's a great question. So I actually love bidding on my competitors' keywords, but I'll throw a caveat in there. You definitely have to think about what makes sense for your business. I love bidding on competitors' keywords because, again, they're cheap. Yes, they do typically yield kind of crappy quality scores. The best way I've seen anybody get around that is to do comparison pages on their site. So you can't use your competitor's name in your ad. You can put it on your site and do a really nice comparison of what you offer in comparison to that particular business. So we see high engagement on those pages, and it's a great way to just win people over onto your side. Maybe they've never heard of you. This is a great way to introduce them to you in comparison to what they were already looking for. So if you do see that you're getting great traffic, useful traffic from those competitor terms, absolutely add them and give your competitors a run for their money, especially if they're not bidding on those terms. But if ultimately, you should always be making decisions based on performance. So if ultimately you see that the performance isn't great on them, it's totally fine to set them as negative, weed them out, and avoid them altogether.
Great. What positions seem to yield the best ROI?
ROI is tough. Look, the best click-through rates, I can tell you, are going to be the top positions. So position number 1 typically yields the best click-through rate. 2 does well. 3 is randomly skyrocketing of late ever since the change happened. And 4 is up more than ever before because they now have a preferred position. So you really want to focus on those spots 1 to 4. The reason I say yield the best ROI is a tough question to answer is because a lot of this has to deal with, are you showing up for the right terms in those positions? Are your ads compelling? Are your landing pages reflective? So I can assure you, as long as your ads are good, you're definitely going to see more clicks. You know, the higher up on the page you are. I can't promise ROI. That's totally dependent on you.
Okay. Next up, given the importance of long-tail keywords, should I still pause long-tail keywords that don't get impressions after a few weeks?
You know, I'm a big believer in if you are conscientious about reviewing your search query report, you don't have to worry about pausing all those terms. The painful thing about pausing all of those terms with like no volume is they're still going to be in your account, cluttering your account. If you're good about changing your views, that's fine. But deleting them is nice because it just gets all the junk out of the way. And the reason I say I think like if you're good about checking your query reports, if you start to see that term make a comeback, you're starting to see that it actually is yielding traffic, then you can just add it right back in. Like you can certainly re-add that keyword. You make a good point. Pausing is typically better than deleting because it's going to retain that like quality score information and your historical data. However, it's really a matter of like personal preference. If you're comfortable having it continuing to sit in your account and take up space.
Great. What's a good time frame for doing A/B tests for search ads?
Ooh, time frame is tough, you know, because it really is dependent on your business, the amount of volume that you're getting. It is all about volume. And that's why I think that calculator is pretty cool, because you can start to get a good sense of what you need for your account to determine that it is a sufficient amount of volume. Take the time, play around with that. Like I said, I on average feel like 2 months is a really good amount of time to let something run its course and prove its value. But if you're getting slammed with, you know, tons of stuff a day and you just have millions of people out there looking for you, then you might know in a day or a week how something is doing. So really base it on your account and use that calculator.
Awesome, thanks, Erin. All right, I think we have time for one last question. Are the amount of images to text ratio, or does the amount of images to text ratio have an impact on quality score on your landing page?
That is a really good question. You know, this is quality score, or I guess our level of knowledge about quality score has increased so much over the last couple of years. Google has really gotten a little bit more transparent about it. So I guess what's important is not thinking about the number of images on your page or the percentage of the page consumed by images, not thinking about the number of keywords you've shoved in there. You know, we used to create these like really obnoxious landing pages that were just stuffed to the brim with keywords because we thought that was the high quality score. The secret is really about giving people a good experience. So ultimately, when Google's looking at your landing page performance, what they're looking at is, are people engaging with your landing page? If your landing page shows positive engagement, that users are engaging with it, staying on it, you know, Google is looking at all of this data, your bounce rates, etc., to determine if you're giving people a good experience. And if they deem it a positive experience, then ultimately you're going to see higher quality scores. Photos do oftentimes give people a better experience. You know, text does. It depends on how relevant the text is, how relevant the photos are. So don't think about the amount of these things on your landing page. Think about, are people engaging with it? Do user testing. See how people react to your pages and make every change with the end consumer in mind. Put that searcher in your head and make all of your changes for them. Don't make your changes just for Google.
Great. Thanks, Erin. All right, well, we don't have any more time for questions as we're running short on time, but I want to say thank you for your time and encourage you to please email us or connect with us on Twitter via @WordStream or directly to Erin. As she said, she will respond to you. Should you wish to discuss anything covered today in more detail, or if you just have any general questions about WordStream or paid search in general. And also just a quick reminder that the presentation will be shared with all of you shortly via email